Oh, hello every oh, hello
Hello,
everyone. My name is Cheyenne Brooks,
and I'm Eunice Daudu.
and we will be talking to you today about working with old school and modern technology and the benefits of both.
Yeah. Right.
So first, we would like to thank all of our sponsors and supporters without whom none of this would be possible. And now we would like to see where everyone is from. So just use your little star icon. We are from New York City.
Mm-hmm.
People from Florida. Ooh, Mexico.
A lot of us are from the United States. All right. Glad to see there's a lot of people in different places. I hope you all enjoy this presentation as we begin.
Okay, so old school and modern technology, the benefits of both. So today we are 10th graders from Marymount School of New York, and we will be talking to you about old school and modern technology and how it can be used in the classroom and curriculum.
In this session, we hope to discuss the way technology is used in the classroom, and through an example, our example is our 9th grade project called Curator's Gallery. In order to do so, we have collected resources from fellow students, upperclassmen, and teachers who have completed this project or supervised the project. And our goal here is to prove that both the use of modern technology and old school technology in the classroom and the curriculum can be beneficial to both the students and educators.
So before we actually begin discussing our project, we would like to explain what we mean by old school and modern technology. So old school, this is what we would consider technology where creations are made by hand or without the use of computers, phones, or the internet. In terms of this project, we consider the creations made in our art room or through mediums of paint, pencil, paper, clay, wood, and other miscellaneous objects to be old school.
For modern technology, we consider creations done on the computer through different software programs or on the internet to be modern. Due to Marymount, our school, having many resources available for its students, students have access to computers and other resources that we consider modern, such as the Fab Lab, which is the fabrication lab where students are able to create stuff using 3D printers or laser cutters. Students also have access to the Media Lab, where they can film and edit movies and record themselves.
Okay, so what is Curator's Gallery? In the spring semester of 9th grade, students are assigned this project in their humanities course. Now, humanities is a combination of the classes history, English, and art history. So it's an interconnected course. So for example, as we studied ancient Greece and history, we read the Odyssey and the Penelopiad in English and studied vases and statues from the Grecian era in art history. So because our school is across the street from the Metropolitan Museum of Art, we were able to view our art pieces that we were studying in the Met Gallery.
This project, Curator's Gallery, is a part of the art history component of humanities. This project asks students to create a gallery based on several pieces of artwork from the Met. The students have already chosen their pieces of art before the project began because they were asked to write an analysis on their piece of art, which followed a similar theme to their students' groups topic. So in this gallery or exhibition the students put together, they have to use innovation and imagination to represent their pieces of artwork they have been studying. And just for clarification, this is a hypothetical exhibition where they are to imagine if they were to have to create a gallery inside the Metropolitan Museum, how would they do it and how they present it and how they make it engaging for the students and for anyone who comes into the galleries.
So, the guidelines for the project. Students are asked to design innovative spaces which showcase their works of art in terms of history, symbolism, and influence. These art pieces had to be from the ancient world, medieval Europe, and the Islamic world. In the exhibits, they needed to feature their chosen work from the Met's collections, as well as other works that can be from other museums inspired by their topic. So in order to do so, they were asked to make floor plans which outline their exhibition and creative components which highlight their works of art in terms of topic and theme.
Determination of their score of the project. At the end of the project, students showcased their galleries to an audience of patrons, which consisted of teachers, administrators, and other students. These patrons determined if their groups were worthy of funding through their presentation. Again, this is in the hypothetical sense that if they were to present this actually to be in the Metropolitan Museum of Art, it is interesting enough to be inside the museum. And the final score of this project for each group was determined by their teacher.
So as stated before, due to the many resources at Marymount, students were able to access various means of technology which they could use for their projects. So these resources would include our fabrication lab, or Fab Lab, in which we have a 3D printer called a MakerBot, and there is a picture of it right here. And there's a laser cutter, which can be found here. And there are also different computer apps that we were exposed to, such as Google SketchUp. And this is an app which you can use to make 3D models of pretty much anything that you'd like. And we also had iBooks Author, iMovie, Photoshop, etc. We have a media lab, and this is actually an example of our media lab, in which we have cameras, a recording studio, a green screen, and editing software. We also have an art room in which students were able to have access to crafts, clay, cardboard, different things like that, and of course the internet. So any resources can be very helpful for research.
Yes. There are different parts of this project that the students had to do. The creative component is a part of the project the students did, which they used the different resources of technology that Marymount had available to them. The creative component highlights their pieces of art in the Met. And here we'll be discussing the different ways students use their resources to complete their creative component.
So one student who we interviewed, her creative components were all handmade. One was a painting, and there were 2 clay statues that were supposed to emulate the works of art that her and her group were studying.
One student used the 3D printer to recreate her piece of art, which was an ancient pin. She drew it the printer was able to create the shape of it and make it really realistic.
Another student, you can actually see her project right here, recreated a lyre. She used an old cigar box, some wood from her basement, and a saw to create it.
Another group made their creative component through the 3D printer again, but this time they used coins, which can be seen here. They made coins from the 3D printer because their topic was about ancient Roman coins.
Another group decided that they wanted to use iMovie for their creative component, so one student created a parody of the show Man vs. Wild and titled it Girl vs. the Met, where she went on an adventure through the Met trying to find her piece of artwork while giving the audience facts about it.
There was another student who handmade a book, a children's book, in order to present it at the day of, in front of other patrons. So now that the students are working towards the creative component, they also need to create a space where all the works of art will live, and they also need to prepare for the day that they will showcase their work. In order to do so, they created floor plans and set up their tables at the presentation of the galleries with many props. Here are some examples.
So one group said to create their gallery, they made a physical diorama, and they used an Ugg boots box and cardboard and different things from the art room. Another group used Google SketchUp, the 3D program, to make a digital gallery, and an example of that would be right here and here. And also to present their information, they made handmade poster boards, so you can find that right here. Another group thought the best route for their project was to hand make everything, so they recreated a medieval house by cutting cardboard and painting it. They painted on the wallpaper, and their main focus was medieval tapestry, so they were able to paint it onto the house that they made.
There are two other groups who also use SketchUp to create their galleries. One group described how they first created their individual rooms, seen here, and then together they were able to create their whole floor plan, which turned into this. Then she also stated that using SketchUp was probably the coolest part of her presentation. Some other interesting things to notice on the day of the presentation was that students had access to television screens during the presentation, such as here and here. These screens allowed them to view slides or video in the background as they talked to patrons and other people viewing their galleries. And also, in hopes to make their presentation engaging, students also had necklaces or quizzes or games to show off during the day of the presentation, which helped.
So when we talked with our fellow peers about this project, we asked them why they chose to use more modern technology or less. So one group used less modern technology because they believe using technology for their project was better because SketchUp and other things like that was very hard for them to use at times. And to quote the student, she said, "I trust myself more than I trust technology." She said she knew the way that she wanted her project to look exactly, and it was easier for her to do this just doing it herself. Another group used more technology. They felt that using technology did take a little extra effort and work, but it makes your project look more professional and like you worked harder on it. And another group also used more technology because it provided them a more entertaining way of presenting their information. They were able to explore the different applications in the Apple Store and get a taste of the world of design. And through the use of Google Drive, her group was able to stay in touch and stay in contact directly, and they could make edits to their presentations and essay, and everything was shared with the whole group.
A group who decided that using less modern technology was easier discussed how it was easier for everyone to access it when there was less technology. Since this group were the ones who decided to make a house, a handmade medieval house, and they found that through transporting it between their homes, it was easier for them to work on it, since they all lived near each other, and they could easily just come over whenever they had the free time to work on the project. Another group who decided that more modern technology was better for their project, stated that it enabled them to do things they wouldn't have been able to do without it. They discussed how they never would have been, without the 3D printer, they wouldn't have been able to make their presentation look so impressive or so professional, rather than if they made it by hand, where they would feel it wouldn't have been as professional. There is this group who found a balance between both the use of technology, that it was okay in some cases, but in other cases not as useful. They discussed how they didn't use technology for everything in their project, but in certain parts of their project they found and it was a good way to make their gallery visually pleasing to others. And lastly, there's this group who discussed that using the technology was immensely helpful for them in being able to organize everything and finding ways to express their ideas and their interests in this topic. And they found that it was they were a lot happier working with technology than working by hand. So the evolution over the years, this project has been in effect for 3 years. And over the past 3 years, the resources mentioned before have been available to all students. The difference, though, in these 3 years is that as students and teachers have learned more of the skills on the computer or more of the skills in the art room, they have been able to pass that on to other students, thus encouraging students to use different means of completing their projects, seeing as they now feel more capable in using different styles of art or computer programs.
So when we asked the students which type of technology they preferred when completing projects and also just in daily schoolwork in general, we found that the use of technology or preference to use technology depends on the person and the circumstances at times. So here's what some of the students said. This is a group of students who were pro-technology. So many of them said that technology is great for students because of its efficiency. And other students said it was safe environmentally because it saves paper. And for some, it was a lot faster, and it's very portable with computers being so small these days, and your phones and iPads, easy to carry around with you. And a lot of people said that it helped us be more connected to each other. And other students said that learning how to use technology is helpful and very important because technology is the future. And they liked using it because it forces you to learn how to use its software and understand the internet and other things that will be useful in the future. So knowing how to use it is going to benefit us in the long run. And using the internet for resources and research was also very helpful in daily work and through this project. And it's a smart way to be able to stay on top of your work and to stay organized. Most of the students at Marymount do all of their assignments on their computer, so they never have to worry about forgetting to turn certain things in because you can email teachers or bringing things into school because it's always on your hard drive.
Students who were against the use of a lot of modern technology in their everyday lives discussed how one of the negative effects was that they can become too dependent on technology, and when it breaks or it doesn't work, they don't have any of their work. And also, they discuss how using technology can sometimes prevent us from interacting with each other with like face-to-face communication. Also, another student talked to me about how that and there are many cases where technology is not as useful or as efficient than doing it the old-fashioned way, such as taking notes in class. If sometimes she finds that she can't retain her information when typing down notes. Rather, it's better for her to take notes down by hand in order to remember the material in class. Another con that one student said was that it can be very distracting. Sometimes they might find themselves BuzzFeed quizzes or playing games or not doing their work, which can be detrimental to them in the long run. Another student discussed how technology can only be effective if everyone knows exactly how it works. For example, her example was that teachers sometimes get confused when using Google Docs or other programs on the internet, but since students know how to use it, it's easier for them to use it, but since it's hard for the teachers to use it, it can be confusing for everyone involved. And one complaint from a student is that there's no need for everything to be on the computer, because if everything is on the computer, they might end up losing some of their stuff or forgetting it at home, forgetting their computer at home, or worse, breaking it, and which could be really disastrous for them later on. Overall, students talked about how it's important not to be reliant on technology and to do stuff, but also there are wonderful wonderful pros that can come from using technology. Mr. Walter, the teacher at Marymount, discussed how that the use of technology, old or new, is fine because students should use their resources the best way they see fit. And if it is, and depending on how they view using the resources given to them at Marymount, they can make a wonderful presentation. And it doesn't matter if they have more modern computers, technology in their presentation, or if they rather decided to make things by hand, as long as they're able to do what they have been asked.
So Ms. Carcaterra, she is the supervising teacher for the class Art History and for this project, Curators Gallery. She believes that student choice is paramount, so students should have the freedom to choose how they want to complete their project. She never forces technology on her students, although she does feel it is important to incorporate in the curriculum. She feels that using your artistic abilities is just as professional and engaging as using technology, and it's really up to the students to understand the resources that are available to them.
Yes, the ultimate aim is that you achieve your goal. As long as you're able to do what the project is asking you to do, such as the students did in Curators Gallery, then there is no reason for you to feel no reason for a student to feel bad that they didn't use more technology or less technology. There's value in both handmade and modern works.
So although the world is constantly evolving and it is evident that we are moving towards a more technologically advanced society, many people still value the old school technology and the old ways of doing things. When it comes to school and teaching, we see that efficiency and professionalism and presentation are key components in anything that you do. Depending on the person and the situation, technology may not be right in order to complete a task or to learn, such as a student retaining more information through typing rather than finding efficiency in completing a project through making it by hand rather than doing it on a software. So although technology is not the only way to get the job done, technology is a beautiful thing which we all should embrace and really need to welcome into the curriculum, seeing that it is the future, which is why it is so important for schools to incorporate it in their classrooms. So you definitely should encourage technology, but it's important not to forget that there are other ways of doing things.
All right, so this is the time for any questions anyone might have about technology or this project, Curators Gallery, which we have discussed in this presentation. Abby and Daudu, what do you mean by traditional classroom?
Well, for some, at Pat Hensley, for some students, they felt that
yes.
Using technology in some cases did take a longer amount of time for them, but this was mainly the case for the groups that were not really experienced with using technology, which is why it was such a big deal that it depends on whether or not you know how to use it in order for it to be efficient. The groups that had experience with iMovie and using Google SketchUp were able to recreate their galleries and their creative components a lot easier, but there were a lot of ambitious groups that decided they wanted to take it on and without having any experience, and it did take them a longer amount of time.
Going back to Abianda's question, which I skipped over, traditional classrooms will still exist. Schools are here, but students will continue to be going into classrooms and learning there. It's just that we're encouraging the use of technology in classrooms to improve comprehension of stuff or to make to show other forms or other ways to make interesting presentations. Sadly, I do not know the price of a 3D printer. You would have to ask our teachers or the head of the tech department in our school.
So any other questions from any of you?
To answer Katie Krieger's project, my project was using SketchUp and creating videos, which was my creative component, and I found that using that really enhanced the project, my project, because we were able to go into the net and view the pieces of art and discuss just its relevancy and on our certain topic, which I felt was really interesting and really fun.
And just to add on top of that, many people that we interviewed did say that they weren't the most artistic person, so they knew that if they tried to recreate their creative component or physically make their gallery, it wouldn't have turned out as well as it had when they used Google SketchUp because they knew they wouldn't be able to really pull it off. So sometimes not everyone is artistically gifted enough to be able to do it by hand.
Are there any other questions?
All right. Well, thank you, our audience, and thank you also goes out to all of our supporters and partners in the conference, without which none of this could have even have been possible.
And we also want to say thank you to our teachers and the students who we interviewed who let us be able to make this presentation.
And
we also, sorry. We also want to encourage you all to go and visit other presentations that are occurring in this conference today, because we just started, so there are so many other more to see.
So thank you everyone for watching, and enjoy the rest of the conference.